Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It's the middle of the week, which of course means it is match preview showtime, and it's another big game this coming Saturday as we host a resurgent Notts County. And I'm pleased to say, to help me preview that big game this coming weekend, I'm joined by Thomas Wagstaff, he who co-hosts the brilliant Notts County Talk podcast. So I will put Thomas's details and of course the podcast details in the description at the bottom of this video. Please go and give both accounts a follow. Thomas, first of all, appreciate your time and welcome to the channel.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, mate. Appreciate it.
Right, let's get started. I think it's fair to say if we had this chat 3 weeks ago, I'd have been the happier one, and you'd have probably been a little bit downbeat. But you've picked up in the last few weeks, so we'll do the Gills form quickly. But obviously, we want to talk about Notts County more than the Gills because everybody knows how we're getting on. So it's 14 points from the last 18 on offer for Gareth Ainsworth's charges. That's wins against Walsall, Chesterfield, Crewe, and Oldham, and draws against Tranmere and most recently Bromley, which sees us sit top of the League Two table at this very early stage. In terms of the Magpies, defeats to Salford and Barrow were then preceded by a good win against Shrewsbury by 4 goals to 1, a 2-2 draw with Bromley, sounds familiar, and then back-to-back victories against Tranmere Rovers and Fleetwood in your most recent 2 games to give you 11 points. You currently sit 10th. Before we get into the on-pitch stuff, I think we have to address the announcement that came out in the middle of pre-season, which was this new structure, this new footballing board or whatever it was called, and of course the appointment of Martin Patterson that came with it. I said at the time I felt like it was an appointment where Martin Patterson was probably the only manager that would take it, and I don't mean that with any disrespect to Notts County. I just felt that any sort of manager of decent reputation at the time wouldn't be willing to work in them circumstances. So you've had a couple of months to digest it now. You've seen Martin Patterson at work over the last 7 games in League Two, plus a couple of cup games of varying descriptions. Where do you sit now, Thomas, compared to where you sat when the announcement was first made?
Well, I watched your preseason predictions. I watched a lot of creators' preseason predictions, and
Mhm.
everyone was the same. Like I knew nothing of Patterson as a coach. I knew him as a striker at Burnley years ago, but I knew nothing as a coach. And everyone echoed the exact same thing, which is worrying. Burton fans echoed the same thing. You know, we were all massively, massively underwhelmed. And I don't think any Notts fan in the world sat there and thought good appointment. And I think we all agree that it's probably because no one else would take it.
Yep.
Um, and then the season starts off, and we should be 4 up at half time to Newport, and we end up drawing the game and probably should have lost it. We then comfortably beaten by Salford, and you think, oh dear, this guy needed to get off to a very good
Mhm.
start. And then we don't win again, I think, and you're like, oh, this is going to turn nasty. And he just starts to grind results out, which sounds like, oh, you don't really want to be grinding results out, but not so a side that you'll know from the past 2 seasons that haven't been able to grind a result out.
Mhm.
So all of a sudden, teams that flat track bully us like Bromley, all of a sudden we're playing better against them than we would have done. You start to think, okay, well, at least now we're seeing some kind of identity under the manager, and the identity matches his personality from what I see. I'm far from
Mhm.
convinced, because we're 4 games unbeaten, and that could definitely turn into 4 games on the spin you lose in this division, and then
Yep.
is right back to square one. But the Shrewsbury win, they were horrendous. They were so bad. We were minutes away from minutes, about 10 minutes away from beating Bromley, and a couple of deflections takes it in. Tranmere, we were good. Like, we're building.
Mhm.
I'm not convinced. The convincing games, the ones that are going to convince me is going to Gillingham
Mhm.
when you're doing really well and getting something. They're the ones that are going to convince me. But yeah, I'm definitely a bit happier. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at them last 4 games where you've picked up, 3 have been on your own pitch as well. So, like you
Yeah.
say, it's going to be going to them games, them places against teams that are playing well, that are horrible to play against. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we're going to try and match you and try and play the same passing game as Notts County have been renowned for a long time, not
Yeah.
by any stretch. So, and then to coin the old phrase, it'd be what you do on a horrible cold Tuesday night somewhere where it's
Mm.
wet and it's windy, and not many people fancy it. But there are signs of improvement, and whether that's Martin Patterson or the good players that you still got in the squad, and there's still plenty of pedigree within that playing squad. Jody Jones, Alassana Jatta, just two to mention. Jacob Badeau at the back. Matthew Dennis has obviously come in and started really well. So whether it's them or the gaffer or a mixture of both or a bit of luck here and there, which we all need, there's still a step in the right direction. It was 1 point from the first 9, and you've taken 10 from the last 12. So you're
Mm.
going the right way. What would you put that upturn in form down to? One, the other, combination?
Oh, it's hard. Um, I think, if we'd have started the season and we'd have put four past Newport in the first half, I think we
Mhm.
could be in a very different place. But I feel like everyone around the whole club knew that we had to get off to a good start.
Mhm.
So it was getting that first win, and thankfully Shrewsbury turned up, who I don't think could have beaten a Sunday League side on that day. So that gave us a bit of confidence, and then we're just grinding things out. It's getting key players back. It's getting players fit again. I
Mhm.
mean, there's some players in the squad that missed a lot of last season. Jody, you've mentioned Jody missed a
Mhm.
lot last season. You may be delighted to know that I've just seen that he was pulled out of the Malta squad and sent back to Notts in the last day or two for an injury, which isn't Jody and injuries go hand in hand. It seems at the minute. But yeah, just getting things stable. I think big turnover in players. So yeah, it's very simple, but the upturn in form is just we actually won a game and we actually got the look of seeing another game out, and then it grows and it grows. So yeah, I think it's just that.
And is there a case to say that you put four past Shrewsbury, you win? Well, it looks, anyone who looks from the outside goes, "Cool, that's a good Notts County performance." But obviously, you get to see it for 90 minutes. I've seen firsthand how good Bromley are just a few days ago. They're absolutely phenomenal. I've said they're by far the best team we've played this season. Not in terms of they've got the best players or they play the nicest football, but in terms of a team that knows exactly what their manager wants them to do, who knows exactly what they are, and knows exactly every individual drill and collective drill within that 11 or 15, 16, depending on how many substitutes. They were absolutely phenomenal and they should have beaten us. I'm not going to sit here and pretend they could have been 4-0 up at half time. They've had two off the line, they've hit a post. From our point of view, it's great, like you said, similarly to Notts now. That's a game we lose last season. We've dug in and we've stayed in the game and we've managed to find a way to get something. Obviously, Matthew Dennis has had a huge part to play. It's great for a striker to come in who I think's got 6 goals and 1 assist in his first 7 league games. That's a phenomenal start. And I think there were some question marks around him after MK Dons, and then he had that decent spell back end of last season at Carlisle, which ultimately earned him the move. So he's getting all the headlines. I get that, and it's great twofold because you want strikers to score, and also you had Jatta with a big ban after his histrionics in the playoffs a few months ago, so it's helped in that respect. But who's got under the radar? Who have you been impressed with so far? Any new signings or players that were already there last season that have improved that people might not notice, and everyone will go, once you've watched them for 90 minutes, you go, Corey does a good job. He just does the dirty side, all that type of thing. Who's the unsung hero so far?
So we had George Albert last year, who everyone
Mm.
will know in League Two was
Gone to
like,
Wickham now, hasn't he?
yeah, he
Mm.
shouldn't have been in League Two. He was far too good. I mean, he was scoring like worldies at some weeks and then like getting 9 out of 10. So we had to replace him, and we brought in Tommy Openda, who is
Mhm.
on loan from Huddersfield, worked with Patterson, um, and he is essentially, filling that lone spot of Abbott, a young player, but he's like 6'3", 6'4". He's good in the tackle. He drives forward, but he's big, so he keeps players off him, and he can win the ball back. He won the ball back for our goal against Fleetwood, and then laid it off to Jatta, who put it into Dennis. So he's good, and you'll notice him in midfield. You can't really miss him. Big, strong, does make a few errors. He's very young. He's like 20 years
Mhm.
old, so he's raw. The other one is, in our promotion season from the National League, Matty Palmer as captain was amazing, amazing. And then he came in and he got a season-ending injury in the first season. Came back last year, wasn't the same player. People were like, "Let's take the captaincy off him," and that's the issue. He's the weight of the captaincy is too much on him. This year, it's like he's taken the Patterson personality and he's winning tackles, and he looks fantastic. It looks like a new signing. So both of those in the middle of the park, Eel Pender a bit further forward, they're making a big difference because I briefly mentioned it. Last season we wouldn't have won some of these games because we were so soft in different areas of the pitch, but those two are good. And a bit of a shout out as well for Kellen Gordon, who got promoted with Crawley a couple of years ago as a wing back, and was asked to train with the B team last season at the points with the kids, and he's come back. He's been really good on a wing back as well.
Scored a goal recently as well, didn't he? I believe. Can you get one at
Yeah,
Tranmere?
he did. Yeah, yeah, on the rebound, took it well.
So there's good players, and like you say, with Jody Jones, unfortunately reverting to type that you had that we saw a few years ago before that fantastic spell that got
Mm.
him the move to yourself, and he's now back to probably missing more games than he's playing, unfortunately, which is great for opposition. I'm not going to sit here and pretend, but as long as it's not anything long term. And I know there was banter between the sets of fans last year after the game at your place because, well, if you believe some Notts County fans, we'd murdered him. But that's all part of being a football fan and that tribal nature, which is great fun. And I think Jody took it in fairly good nature as well, from what I saw. Um, Balance is the next point I want to look at. And we know you came back up into the division. You had this reputation for being free scoring. Macaulay Langstaff, you had in the National League in your first year back in League Two, was really, really good. You've then replaced him cleverly with Jatta. You had Dan Crowley, that type of player. Jody Jones, we've already mentioned. David McGoldrick before he moved on. There's so many that are just ridiculously good at the level in terms of attacking players. But it seems to have hindered you defensively over the last couple of seasons. That first season back, if I believe I've written it down right, you scored 89, conceded 86, and ended up finishing 14th. You then reined in the attacking play a little bit the season after, scored 68, which is still not a bad number, and only
Mm.
conceded 49, which is just over a goal a game. Got yourself into the playoffs. I think looking at the moment, you've scored 12, you've conceded 9, you're on for 79 for and 60 against. Is that, and I know it's a very small sample size, but is there any concerns from yourself, the fan base in general, that you're still not quite getting the balance right between attack and defence?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, great to get a clean sheet against Fleetwood.
Hmm.
But in the games before, I'm sat with Georgia, who I also do the channel
Yep.
with, and a few friends, and I'm saying, do you feel like this is a season where we're going to register less than like 5 clean sheets? And we all said, yeah, like it feels like that. But it's the same thing that you see with Notts it seems like once a month, a mistake goes viral. That
Yeah.
we pass it out to the opposition just for an open goal. At least 2 or 3 goals this season of those 9 have been absolute howlers from either Kel Roos in goal, who
Yeah.
I don't rate personally, or just really sloppy defensively. I thought last season I thought we'd build on that, but Platt got injured away at Barrow, and he's out till November. Then you have to put Rob McDonald in, who didn't get many minutes last season, leaving your only real quality defender as Jacob Bedu. You've got Al Joffrey, who was on loan at Accrington, but not quite, settled into the squad and cut it yet. Um, so yeah, there is still a problem there, definitely. And let's not forget last season we had Alex Bass in goal. And Alex Bass probably, I would say from watching him almost every game, probably saves you 10 goals on that goals conceded column.
Which in
We haven't
turn
got
turns
him
into probably 10, 15 points. Yeah.
exactly. And I don't want to be too harsh, and it's early, and I don't and on our channel I don't like going after individuals and bashing them, but I think we're replacing with a keeper that actually gives 10 the other way. I really am not
So
convinced with
then, in
Kel.
essence, it's a 20 goal swing, isn't it? That's the
And if
thing.
you
Yeah.
if you put crosses into the box, and it's not a secret, Gillingham, every team we play will be looking. If you put crosses into the box under the crossbar, he's not going to claim them.
So he's
We've
now
got
your first choice, Keller Roos,
yeah,
because
um,
goalkeeping department was one I looked at when I was sort of putting together my ratings to get the season preview table predictions, and it was, I think I marked you at the time. I think because you only had the young lad that you'd signed on loan from Nottingham Forest, Bass had gone, so I could only give you 4 out of 10 because there was no other keeper. Is there a case to say that even with Keller Roos, that probably doesn't even go up above maybe a 5 or a 6 out of 10?
well, on
Whereas
our channel
Bass probably made you an 8 out of 10.
Bass was brilliant. But
Yeah.
on our channel, we did on the last day of deadline day when Knots basically said no one else was coming in. We did a squad depth review, and myself and George both gave us a 4 out of 10, and that was only a week ago. Um, yeah, it is worrying, and I do think there'll be some games where we will concede a fair few goals, but I don't know if that the Knots way now under this. Is that the way we're going to go? I don't know. I'd look.
You can't, can you? Because it's literally 7 games, new manager, the new
Yeah,
structure above it. It's you don't know what you're going to be probably until, dare I say, halfway through the season.
yeah, exactly. So
Makes for an
we'll see.
interesting afternoon. Um, if we look at recent games, since obviously, so there's 4 fixtures in the league since you came back into League Two, and Gills, I think, have won both games at Meadow Lane, 3-1 and 1-0, and you've won both games at Priestfield by 2 goals to 1, I think, on each occasion. So um, it's got all the makings, I think, of being a decent game. you're improving, we're playing well, so we'll play with confidence. If you look at them 4 games over the last 2 seasons, I think there's only one game where not both teams have scored. So it says there will be at least a couple of goals in it. Final horrible question before I let you go is what's your score prediction for Saturday afternoon?
We love scoring a good goal at your place. Lewis McCarry 2 years ago and David McGoldrick when he chipped the
David
keeper
McGoldrick with a
after.
chip. Yeah, I got both of them
Oh
on
my
camera. Thanks for
gosh.
reminding me.
I was right behind the McCarry goal as well, as
I
he
was right behind the
travelled.
McGoldrick one, unfortunately.
So good. Both of them so good. It's difficult because I mean, I'm actually in a great mood because I don't know if you've seen this, but it might even be less than an hour before. Our director of football, Gagliardi, is left by mutual consent, and he's built the squad, and he's in
Okay.
charge of bringing in Patterson, and he was in charge of not renewing David McGoldrick's contract, and he's in charge of letting Alex Bass go, and he's
What, and he's
dropped a
left this
bomb.
afternoon?
He is left this afternoon by mutual
Oh, okay.
consent, and we've thanked him for everything he's done in this busy transfer window. But if you have a look after this, fans are absolutely delighted. Um, so every time I've done a prediction or a preview on our podcast, we don't know the squad because the squad is so unbalanced. We don't know who's playing where.
Hmm.
We don't know who we've got available. And I think him going what's a week after the transfer window shut, just over a
Hmm.
week, is very telling that they're
Hmm.
not happy with what he's done. We've not invested any money, but received, I think, 400,000 for Alex Bass. What's happened with that? So, in terms of like predictions, because the squad is so strange, I find it difficult to predict anything.
Hmm.
I don't know. I love playing a team that haven't lost a game. I just
Because
feel
it has
like
to end at some
it
point, yeah.
has to end. I
Hmm.
love that. And equally, I hate playing a team that haven't won a game for a while. So I want to say a Notts win, but even though we're four unbeaten, we're still very fragile. So I'm going to go for a draw. I think we'll score a worldie because we always do. I think we'll concede, but Matty Dennis is in such good form. I think it'll be 2-2. I think Dennis will score again, which will make it 6 consecutive games. And I think Jata will get his first of the season after coming back from his ban.
We're on the same lines. I was torn between 2-2. That was the head, and the heart says Gills nick it 2-1 because we've won each game at home so far, and we've beaten 3 good I think the 3 home games we've beaten 3 of the current top 7. Chesterfield, Crewe, and Walsall. So it's not like we're beating rubbish, and you're not rubbish. Like we've said, you've got good players. You're running into some form, albeit there's some question marks surrounding everything still, which is understandable because of such a change that came about in the summer. But no, I'm going to be positive and back us to win it by 2 goals to 1. And I've written down Josh Andrews and Gareth McCleary off the bench. But a 2-2 draw, I don't think it'll be a disaster for either side. It keeps us going. Obviously, we've got the curse hanging over us of Gareth Ainsworth being nominated for Manager of the Month still. So
Yeah,
there's that to worry about. I'm sort of pretending that it doesn't count now because we've already played a game in September and didn't lose. But we know how that tends to work. And like you say, unbeaten runs are there to be broken. They all come to an end eventually. I'm just hoping it's not Saturday, of course, and we want it to go on as long as possible. But Thomas, appreciate your time, appreciate your knowledge. Really enjoyed this one. So, Gills fans, county fans, neutrals, if you're all watching, please, please, please go and follow Thomas and the Notts County Talk podcast on X. If we can hit 100 likes on this one, that'd be really, really good. So press that like button. While you're there, please press subscribe. That'll be great. We do the League 2 hour, myself and Lee from around the grounds every Monday now at 7 p.m. So come and get involved in that on a weekly basis. Of course, we'll be at the Priestfield, myself, Ava, Boz, and whoever else is around on Saturday for another match day live. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week. And most importantly, up the Gills.